Hello again. Today I am going to start with writing algebraic expressions. So this is where you are given a sentence such as this and you need to turn it into an expression like we started with yesterday. So to review, remember that a variable is a letter, so it stands for an unknown number. We have a variable term, which is a coefficient and a variable, like 4x, 2y, 5x, and so on. We have coefficient, which is the number that is attached to the variable. So remember, it works together, which is why it's called a coefficient. So if you have 2x, your 2 is the coefficient. We have a constant, which is the number that's by itself. So if we have 2x plus 5, your 5 is your constant. We have terms. So a term can be one of three things. It can be a constant, it can be a variable by itself, or it can be a variable term. So in 4x plus 5, you have two terms. You have 4x and you have 5. Those are the two terms. So using that information, we are now going to work on writing the expressions. You have a sheet on your notes that have all the clue words. That'll help you determine the operation. It'll help you determine the terms, and so on. So you want to make sure you have that in front of you. There's three words that I really want to focus on, which are added to, from, and than. These are reverse words. And reverse words are words that are going to take the expression and flip it around. So when we read expressions, we start from left to right, just like you were to read a normal math expression. So when we read this, we would read subtract a number times 4 from 10. But if one of these words is in here, that means the expression is going to be flipped. So whatever is at the end is really going to be in the beginning. So in this case, we want to set it up like this. First term, your operation, and then your second term. Now, in order to figure that out, I like to write what I know above each of the words. So I'm going to read it again. Subtract a number times 4 from 10. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the word subtract. Now, I know subtract means subtraction. So I'm going to put a little subtraction sign above it. So this tells me that I know my operation is going to be subtraction. Then this part says a number. Now I need to ask myself, do I know what the number is? No. So I want to write a variable. I'm going to choose x. I know that the word times means multiplication, so I'm going to put a little dot. Now remember that we use a dot because we're using x as a variable, and we don't want to use x as a multiplication sign too. We have the number 4 that I want to use, and we have the number 10 that I want to use. Now I'm going to look to see if I have a reverse word, which I do. So I'm going to grab my red, and I'm going to mark this as a reverse word. Now I show reverse as an arrow so that I know whatever is actually back here is going to come up first. So if I am subtracting a number times 4 from 10, that means my first term is actually going to be my last one. So in that case, it's a 10. So I'm going to write my 10 right here. This is my constant. So I've used my 10. I've reversed it because I have my 10 here now. And I can put my operation because I know it's subtraction. So I have used subtraction, I've used from, and I've used 10. So all of these can be crossed out now. Now I have a variable, multiplication, and 4. We only have one box left, so that means it has to be able to fit in here. Now it says a number times 4, so that means it's going to be x times 4. Now the way we write that, it would look like this if you wrote it like that. But the way we write that in algebra terms is squishing it together. So in this case, my coefficient would be my 4, and my variable is my x. So I would write it like this, 4x. Now this sentence means the same thing as this down here. The way you would read this is subtract a number times 4 from 10. And now we have our written expression. We would be able to solve this. So when you are working on this in your forms or on the packet, you always have to make sure that you are looking for these reverse words. If the reverse word is there, your whole thing has to be flipped around. So this last term will go in the beginning. So let's try another one. Let me pull one up on your packet here. Okay. Erase this. Now, if you write those operations and numbers that you want up on top, it's going to help you make sure that you have everything you need. So if you're struggling to figure it out, that's probably a good way or a good trick to help you keep going with that. So our next one is 5 minus the quotient of a number and 2. So this one is an example on your packet as well. So remember, we have a first term, our operation, and our second term. This is your first, and this is your second. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is read it again and put all my signs or my operations above each appropriate term. So we know that 5 is a number, minus means subtract. The quotient, remember a quotient is division of a number, so a number, we're going to use x again, and 2. First step is to ask yourself, do I reverse it? So is there an added to, from, or than? In this case, there is not. But there is one big piece in here that we haven't talked about. Whenever you see the quotient, or the difference, or the sum, or the product, it's always parentheses. So everything that comes after the quotient is all going to be in parentheses. So if you have the product, the sum, and so on, that's parentheses. That's a big thing you need to remember. Since there's no reverse word, I'm just going to start writing. So my first term would be a 5. Good. And then my operation is subtraction. And now before I write anything else, I'm going to put my 2 parentheses. So I'm going to put them around my second term. And I know that the operation is going to be division in my parentheses. So I have 5 minus, I have my parentheses done, I have my division done. And now I have a number and 2, which means I'm going to write it just how it is because there are no reverse words. So I'm going to write x divided by 2. And I'll just rewrite this down here so that you can see it without all of the boxes. And it looks like that. And then you are good to go. Now there are a few problems like this on the form. One of them you have to match with the correct written expression. And one thing that I found is tricky for many students is the cubed. So remember, that's the power of 3. So if you see 2 to the power of 3, this is your cubed. Now when they write that in here, it'll say raised to the 3rd power. If you see times, that just might mean if you have 2 minus x 3 times, your 3 is going to go in front. Something like that. So use your notes to help you. Use this video to help you with that, and you should be good to go. Again, if you have questions, you know where to find it, or where to ask me. But make sure you focus on your reverse words and your clue words to help you, and you will be good to go. So good luck, and I'll be posting more videos.